I'm Kurtop, and these are 100 archaeological discoveries that baffled the whole world. Ice Age art. The mammoth from the Alp-Donau region in Germany is one of the oldest examples of Ice Age art, dating back about 30 to 35,000 years. This miniature figurine is carved from mammoth ivory, which in itself is a testament to the skill and artistic sense of prehistoric people. Discovered in the 1930s, the artifact became an important link in the study of early human art. The uniqueness of this piece lies not only in its age, but also in its level of detail. On the surface of the figurine, notches are visible, possibly symbolic or decorative, which add an air of mystery to the artifact. They may be early examples of communication or expressions of ancient people's spiritual beliefs. Archaeologists suggest that such figurines might have been used for ritual purposes, serving as talismans for hunters or symbols of luck. The mammoth, symbolizing strength and endurance, probably played an important role in the worldview of primitive tribes. The oldest hairstyle. This is an amazing discovery. A preserved hairstyle about 3,300 years old, found on the head of an ancient Egyptian. The intricate braids are striking in their complexity and excellent preservation. In ancient Egypt, hairstyles were of great importance and were often used to express status, age, and position in society. Hair care included the use of oils and aromatic products, which also contributed to their longevity. Preserved details such as braids allow scientists to better understand how important appearance was to the ancient Egyptians and what skill was required to create such hairstyles. The oldest mineral on Earth. In 2001, a unique zircon crystal was discovered in Australia, which is recognized as the oldest mineral on Earth. Its age is an impressive 4 billion years, which makes it a witness to the earliest stages of our planet's formation. This tiny crystal gives scientists the opportunity to understand how the Earth cooled and formed during its first few billion years. Today, this rare artifact can be seen at the Geology Museum of the University of Wisconsin in Madison, USA. Zircon is interesting not only because of its age, but also because its resistance to destruction allows it to preserve information about ancient processes that took place on Earth, making it a true keeper of our planet's history. The tomb of Tutankhamun. This discovery became one of the most famous archaeological finds of the 20th century. This is the final resting place of the young pharaoh who ruled Egypt from 1332 to 1323 BC during the 18th dynasty. Unlike other royal tombs, its size and decoration are quite modest, which is probably due to the unexpected death of Tutankhamun at a young age. It is possible that this tomb was not originally intended for the pharaoh, but was adapted for him due to a lack of time. Despite its modest size, the tomb amazed researchers with the quantity and splendor of the burial items. Among the finds were gold jewelry, household items, a throne, furniture, clothing, and of course the famous golden burial mask of Tutankhamun, which has become a symbol of ancient Egyptian culture. A total of more than 5,000 artifacts were found, each of which helped reveal important details about the life and death of the pharaohs. The tomb was discovered in 1922 by the British archaeologist Howard Carter and his team. Their discovery caused a real sensation around the world, not only because of the enormous amount of treasures, but also thanks to the exceptional preservation of the artifacts, which shed light on the era of Tutankhamun's reign. The most important difference between Tutankhamun's tomb and all the others is its preservation. It has remained in its original state. This discovery became a landmark event in Egyptology and still remains one of the most important archaeological discoveries of all time. Let's hope it won't be the last. Ancient Roman giant. In the area near Rome, archaeologists discovered a unique ancient human skeleton with gigantism. Standing at 202 centimeters tall, the man stood out among his contemporaries of the 3rd century, where the average height was about 167 centimeters. Gigantism is an extremely rare phenomenon, affecting about 3 people per million, and is associated with pituitary gland dysfunction in childhood. Previously, partial skeletons were found in Poland and Egypt, presumably indicating gigantism, but the Roman find became the first confirmed case from antiquity. The skeleton was found in 1991 during excavations of a necropolis in Fidene under Roman rule. The archaeological team immediately noted the unusual length of the tomb, and later studies confirmed the peculiarities of the bones. Researchers found skull damage consistent with a pituitary tumor, as well as disproportionately long limbs and signs of bone growth in early adulthood. The man's early death, presumably between the ages of 16 and 20, may indicate issues related to gigantism. The skeleton was found without any burial items, and the burial itself did not differ from the traditions of that time, which suggests that he was accepted by society. The symbolism of this find highlights the Roman upper class's interest in people with physical anomalies. The oldest rice field archaeologists in eastern China, in Zhejiang province, discovered an ancient rice field that is approximately 5,300 to 5,500 years old. The discovery was made in the Ouyao urban county of Ningbo City. The total excavation area is about 1,000 square meters. On the territory of the field, archaeologists discovered 3 embankments, ridges, and 9 pits, as well as remains of rice weeds, an irrigation and drainage system, and a path that is believed to connect the field with a nearby settlement. Experts attribute the discovery to the late period of the Hamudu Neolithic culture. They believe that this discovery will help to better understand the rice field system of that time and will provide important material for studying the history of rice cultivation in this region. The Petrified Book. Archaeologists from Australia stumbled upon a mysterious artifact resembling a book, which is estimated to be over 330 million years old. Yes, I know that not everyone likes it when I talk about thousands and millions of years. That's why such a discovery has sparked a lot of debate and speculation among scientists. Thomas Kaminsky, a researcher of antiquities, claims that they found a mineralized book with a metal binding, but it is already impossible to read it. Professor of archaeology Jane Baum was also amazed by the find, although she expressed doubts about its antiquity. Other experts are surprised at how the pages of the book have survived for millions of years. Professor of geology Ian Plimer explains that under certain conditions, in an oxygen-free environment and under pressure, paper can become fossilized. Kaminsky believes that the depth at which the book was found indicates its authenticity. However, the question remains as to why the book looks like a modern copy. Could this be an artifact left by a time traveler? Mysterious objects that are 130,000 years old. Archaeological discoveries in the Raciborz area in Poland have shed light on the activities of Neanderthals more than 130,000 years ago. For 2 years, an international team of specialists, including those from the University of Wrocław, the University of Silesia, and the Czech Academy of Sciences, conducted research planning to study the geological structure of the area. Professor Andrzej Wiśniewski noted that the discovery of stone tools was an unexpected gift. Artifacts found 10 meters underground, which were in deposits formed during the last ice age, demonstrate that this area was visited by Neanderthals, who left traces of their presence here. Archaeologists emphasize the uniqueness of some tools that have double-sided asymmetrical cutting edges, resembling modern wide-bladed knives. These tools were possibly used for special tasks, such as butchering game, and similar items are rarely found at other ancient sites north of the Carpathians and the Alps. A miniature wonder. This miniature almanac with an embroidered cover, created in France around 1780, is a true masterpiece of 18th century decorative art. Its dimensions of just 3 by 7 centimeters make it not only a work of art, but also an intriguing collector's item. Such miniatures were popular among the French aristocracy and served both practical and aesthetic purposes. The embroidered fabric cover features an intricate floral pattern, reflecting both the era's taste and the skilled needlework of that time. The red and blue decorative elements on the edges give the item additional elegance. Such almanacs were often used as gifts accompanied by personal inscriptions or poems, adding even more personal value to the item. Its small size suggests that it was intended to be carried in pockets or reticules, allowing the owners to display their refined taste. It may have contained brief notes, calendars, or even love messages, making it a witness to the intimate moments of life in those years. Amethyst vase. This magnificent vase made of amethyst dates back to approximately the 8th century BC and belongs to the Neo-Assyrian period. Found in a private collection, it is a remarkable example of the craftsmanship of ancient artisans working with semi-precious stones. Amethyst was highly valued for its rarity and beauty. Its deep purple color was associated with luxury and was considered a symbol of power and spirituality. Amethyst items in those times were created with great effort, as working with such a hard stone required a high level of skill and special tools. It is likely that this vase was part of ritual inventory or was used to store valuables, possibly incense or oils. The fine polishing and proportional shape indicate that the item was intended for noble owners, such as royal families or high-ranking officials. The Neo-Assyrian civilization was one of the most powerful in ancient Rome, known for its art, architecture, and exquisite household items. Soap is one of the oldest hygiene products. The first mention of soap was found by archaeologists on clay tablets from Mesopotamia, which are about 3,500 years old. However, many scientists believe that soap was used even earlier. In ancient Egypt, papyri found in the tombs of pharaohs mention that rulers bathed using soap. At that time, soap was made from a mixture of fats and ash, which, when reacting chemically, formed a soapy solution. This ancient product was important not only for hygiene, but also for treating skin diseases. Over time, soap recipes improved, and already in ancient Rome, soap became more widespread. Thus, the history of soap spans thousands of years, and it has always played a key role in maintaining cleanliness and health. The Terracotta Army. The most outstanding archaeological discovery in China was not the Great Wall of China, but a huge collection of terracotta sculptures depicting the army of Qin Shi Huangdi, the first emperor of China. These sculptures were created as part of the emperor's burial complex, built to protect him in the afterlife and to continue his rule after death. The terracotta army consisted of thousands of individually crafted figures of warriors, horses, and chariots, dating back to 210-209 BC. This army was discovered in 1974 when farmers in Lintong County near the city of Xi'an in Shanxi province accidentally found fragments of a statue while digging a well. Archaeological excavations, which began soon after, revealed 3 massive underground pits that, as of 2007, estimates contain more than 8,000 soldiers, 130 chariots with 520 horses, and 150 cavalry horses. Each soldier has unique facial features and armor, which demonstrates the high level of skill of the ancient sculptors. The terracotta army is part of the grand burial complex of Qin Shi Huangdi, who sought immortality and eternal power. This monument is not only an example of ancient Chinese funerary art, but also symbolizes the power and ambitions of the first emperor of unified China. The log coffin culture. The ancient heritage left by the culture that flourished in the northwest of Thailand amazes archaeologists with its unique burial customs. About 40 burial sites where people found their final rest in teak coffins, decorated with intricate patterns, testify to a highly developed Iron Age culture. Researchers from Germany and Thailand analyzed the DNA of ancient people to uncover the connections between different communities. Between 2300 and 1000 BC, a mysterious culture flourished in the province of Maya Hongsun. DNA analysis of 33 ancient people from 5 coffins showed that genetic kinship played a key role in burial traditions, highlighting the importance of family ties in the choice of burial sites. This research was a breakthrough in Southeast Asian archaeology, presenting the first analysis of genetic and cultural connections at the level of ancient communities. Despite the challenges of DNA preservation in the tropical climate, scientists identified 2 main genetic lineages associated with agriculture, indicating deep connections with the Yangtze and Yellow River valleys in China. The medieval Devil's Curse. In Germany, archaeologists made a unique discovery during the construction of the town hall in Rostock. At the site of a former cesspit next to a 14th century house considered one of the most beautiful in northern Germany, a 15th century tablet with a curse was discovered. The text on the tablet was written in Gothic script, which was common from the 12th to the 17th century. It is engraved with the words Satan, Stolki, Beelzebub, Enric, Berit, addressed to Talike and Heinrich. Such curse tablets made from thin sheets of lead were popular during the Greco-Roman period. They were used to appeal to gods, spirits, or the dead, with requests to influence people or objects. This find in Rostock is especially rare because it mentions Beelzebub, another name for the devil. Such curses could be used to break up relationships because of unrequited love, jealousy, or a desire to bring misfortune to the people mentioned in the curse. The giant sword from Japan. In Japan, there is a unique sword that is believed to have been forged during the Edo period. With a length of 465 centimeters and a weight of 75 kilosi, it is recognized as the largest Japanese sword in the country. This sword was presented to the Hanaoka Hachimen Shrine in 1859 during a ceremony honoring the imperial monument by supporters who shared the views of imperial patriots like Yoshida Shoin. The sword was forged with the hope that it would ward off evil and demons and could create a bright, pure, and peaceful society. The sword is kept in the treasury of the Hanaoka Hachimen Shrine and is usually not displayed to the public. However, it can be seen with a special guide by appointment only. The New Giant Pyramid. A giant underground pyramid, Gunung Gunung Padang, has been discovered in Indonesia, which is older than Stonehenge and the pyramids of Giza. This place, shrouded in mystery and considered sacred by the local people of West Java Island, is known as Punden Punden Berundag, a stepped pyramid. Archaeological work has only just begun, but it has already shown that Gunung Gunung Padang may be the oldest pyramidal structure in the world, built on top of an extinct volcano before the advent of agriculture. The latest research suggests that there may be chambers inside the hill full of the unknown. The name Mountain of Enlightenment emphasizes that an ancient civilization may have turned the volcanic hill into the foundation for a pyramid many millennia ago. Radiocarbon dating shows that construction began around the last ice age, making it over 16,000 years old, and possibly even 27,000 years ago, which puts it in the same age range as Göbekli Tepe. Between 2001 and 2015, a group of specialists conducted a comprehensive analysis using drilling and seismic surveys. They determined that Gunung Gunung Padang was built in several stages. By examining the hill's interior, scientists discovered signs of hidden chambers, some of which reach 15 meters in length and 10 meters in height, confirming the uniqueness and mystery of this ancient structure. The liturgical collection Missa and Agenda Defunctorum from 1733 is a rare artifact from the early 18th century, created for conducting funeral services. This unique collection, used by priests for reading prayers at the altar, stands out not only for its content, but also for the dark symbolism of its design. The book's binding is decorated with an image of a skull and crossbones, emphasizing its purpose in rituals associated with death and remembrance. The collection includes chants and texts of the Latin liturgy that were used for the repose of the souls of the deceased. The skull symbolism on the cover reflects the contemporary view of the transience of existence and a reminder of the inevitability of death, themes characteristic of the Baroque era. Such books were works of art, symbolizing the mystique and grandeur of Catholic rituals. It is known that bindings with such symbolism were often made specifically for churches or noble families who wanted to emphasize their connection to religious tradition. This collection was probably used in a monastery or chapel, serving as a reminder of the need to pray for the repose of souls. Books made of people. In the 18th and 19th centuries, there was a grim practice of binding books in human skin. This rare and shocking phenomenon was called anthropodermic bibliophagy. Some copies of medical or philosophical treatises, as well as personal diaries, could be bound in the skin of deceased people, most often in their memory. For example, some doctors use the skin of their patients to bind medical texts in order to immortalize their contribution to science. Books like this have become the subject of increased interest and research. Modern technologies, including DNA analysis and chemical tests, make it possible to determine whether the binding is really made from human skin. This phenomenon reflects not only the medical and scientific interests of the era, but also the attitude toward death, memory, and the body. Today, anthropodermic books are rare artifacts that evoke both horror and interest, as well as a reminder of the strange and beautiful traditions of the past. The Altamira Cave. In the province of Cantabria, Spain, there is one of the most famous caves with prehistoric art in the world. These polychrome cave paintings, which are between 15,000 and 36,000 years old, belong to the Magdalenian culture of the late Paleolithic. The walls of the cave depict realistic scenes with animals such as bison, horses, and deer, created using charcoal and natural pigments. In addition to animals, you can also see human handprints here, which gives this place not only artistic, but also deep symbolic value. The cave was accidentally discovered in 1868 by a local resident, Modesto Cubillas, but it gained worldwide fame thanks to the research of Marcelino Sanz de Sautuola at the end of the 19th century. His work helped convince the world that these works of art were created by prehistoric humans, because for a long time scientists believed these drawings were modern. The Altamira Cave offers a unique opportunity to look at the art and life of ancient people. The complexity and expressiveness of the drawings testify to the advanced culture and creativity of the primitive artists. Currently, access to the original cave is restricted to preserve these unique works, but nearby, there is a museum with an exact replica of the drawings, allowing visitors to experience the grandeur of this ancient gallery. The bird from Saqqara. Have you ever heard about the mysterious story of the bird from Saqqara? Perhaps this is one of the most curious objects that scientists managed to discover at the end of the 19th century. In 1898, Egyptian archaeologist Dr. Khalil Masika was excavating a burial site in Saqqara. There, he accidentally discovered an unusual bird figurine. It was small and light, but at the same time had a very curious shape. The body of the figurine resembled a bird, but its wings looked exactly like the wings of a modern jet airplane. They are carved from a single solid piece of wood, which is thicker in the middle and thinner at the ends. All this suggests that more than 2,000 years ago, the Egyptians had quite advanced knowledge in the field of aerodynamics. That's why the discovery puzzled Egyptologists, giving rise to many theories and debates. Moreover, when scientists made a copy of the figurine and tested it, they were able to confirm that it could glide for several meters if the model was simply thrown into the air. Scientists' opinions were divided. Some claim that the resemblance of this bird to an airplane is purely coincidental, while others believe that its creator was an Egyptian genius who actually created a model of a modern airplane. The giant from the USA. At the end of the 19th century, deep in the dense forests of North America near a small settlement that is now known as Black Hills, South Dakota, a discovery was made that shocked the scientific world of that time. A local forest ranger, while walking along his usual routes, stumbled upon an unusually large stone protruding from the ground. He was surprised by its size and unusual shape and decided to invite a group of archaeologists from the nearest university. When the archaeologists began the excavation, they discovered that the stone was actually part of a giant stone sarcophagus. Inside, they found well-preserved remains of a person whose height exceeded 3 meters. This discovery sparked a lot of debate among the scholars of that time, some of whom claimed that the find could shed light on the existence of ancient giants mentioned in the legends and myths of many cultures around the world. Despite significant interest from the scientific community, most of the information about the find and the object itself were lost over time. Only a couple of photographs taken during the excavation and a few entries in the personal diaries of the expedition members have survived to this day. These photographs, although not very clear due to the limited technology of that time, show the enormous size of the skeleton compared to the people who excavated it. The Black Hills area, rich in history and mysteries, still attracts researchers and adventurers who want to uncover the secrets of ancient civilizations and perhaps find lost archaeological treasures. Thus, the story of the archaeological discovery of an ancient giant remains one of the most mysterious and unsolved chapters in the history of archaeology. The deepest, oldest tunnel. In China, they want to reach Cretaceous period rocks that are 140 million years old. The task is ambitious. They plan to cut through 10 layers of earth and reach a depth of 11,000 meters, which will be a national record. The work started in May of this year. While in Russia they want to resume work on the Kola super deep borehole, China is already actively drilling. Let me remind you that the Soviet Kola project, the Kola borehole, although it was not completed, made an important scientific discovery and planned to drill the earth to a depth of more than 15,000 meters. Work on the Kola Peninsula began in 1970 and continued for 2 decades. At a depth of 7 kilometers, the team had to face difficulties. Layered rocks were getting stuck in the equipment. Despite this, they managed to reach the final depth of 12,226 meters. But in 1990, the project had to be shut down due to an unknown explosion. Now China is striving to continue exploring the Earth's interior and plans to use its new borehole to study earthquakes and predict their occurrence. Another goal of the project is to gain a deeper understanding of the Earth's internal structure and its evolution. This opens up new opportunities for developing technologies and solutions that can be applied in various industries. Let's hope that China, with its modern technologies, will be able to find something interesting for the world of archaeology as well. Holy water from the air conditioner. A funny incident happened at the Sri Banke Bihari temple in Vrindavan, India, which could have happened anywhere, but it looks especially striking in a country with hundreds of gods and temples for every occasion. Worshippers gathered around an elephant statue where water dripped slowly. They decided it was holy water from Krishna's feet. However, in reality, the water was just simple condensation dripping from the air conditioner cooling the temple. For people who had never encountered air conditioners, this explanation was not sufficient. The devotees continued to insist that this was the very nectar from the lotus feet of Krishna, which the temple attendants collect every morning during the washing of the divine feet. The temple even had to issue an official statement to dispel the myth and warn people against drinking this water. The danger of such water is that fungi and bacteria can form in the air conditioning system, which can easily get into the droplets. This could lead to infections. But it should be noted that the stomachs of the locals are used to unfavorable conditions. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to buy food at street markets. When this case was reported on television, the believers were even offended at the temple authorities for not warning them earlier. But how can you convince someone who already believes? This task is almost impossible. A shocking discovery by miners. Sometimes miners come across unusual artifacts that can surprise even archaeologists. In 2008, in the Zapadnaya mine in Donetsk, Rostov region, an unusual discovery was made at a depth of 900 meters. In sandstones dating back to the Carboniferous period, 360 to 300 million years ago, a wheel imprint was found. The mining foreman Kosatkin, who worked in the mine, shared photographs of the find. According to him, the mine is classified as dangerous due to the risk of sudden coal and gas outbursts. The management prohibited studying the object and ordered the work to be sped up. As a result, another smaller print, discovered later, was not extracted for study. Kosatkin claimed that other amazing discoveries were found in the mine, which was closed and flooded in 2009, including prints of giant snakes and possibly winged lizards. He also mentioned other unusual finds in coal mines around the world, including a wall made of stone blocks and hieroglyphs. These stories, despite how fantastic they sound, make us think about the possibility of ancient civilizations that we still don't know about. Such discoveries can open new horizons for archaeology and history, although official science often ignores this kind of evidence, considering it just miners' tales. What do you think? Could these mysterious findings really be evidence of ancient civilizations, or are they just coincidences? Write your opinion in the comments. The origin of all things. The clay sculpture of the seated mother goddess from Balochistan, Pakistan, dates back to the Bronze Age and is estimated to be from around 2500 to 2000 BC. This artifact, measuring only 8.6 centimeter by by 2.9 centimeter, is kept in the collection of the Metropolitan Museum in New York. The sculpture depicts the mother goddess, a symbol of fertility and motherhood. A distinctive feature is the detailed depiction of the hairstyle in the form of wavy locks, which symbolize vitality and protection. The large breasts and hips emphasize the cult of femininity, which was common in ancient cultures associated with agriculture. Of particular interest is the similarity of this sculpture to similar artifacts found in other regions, such as Mesopotamia and the Indus Valley. There is a suggestion that the sculpture had a ritual purpose. It was probably used in ceremonies related to the fertility of the land and women. A more mystical interpretation suggests a connection with ancient cosmic cults, where the figure could have symbolized the link between celestial and earthly forces, serving as a mediator between worlds. The oldest medicines. Recent discoveries in the Grotta de Pigeon cave in Taferalt, Morocco, are changing our understanding of ancient medicine. Researchers have found evidence of the use of medicinal herbs that are 15,000 years old. Special attention was drawn to ephedra, a plant used in traditional Chinese medicine to treat asthma, bronchitis, and parasites. The research is based on the analysis of macrofossils found in late Pleistocene layers. The Grotta de Pigeon cave is known as the oldest cemetery in North Africa, where 34 skeletons of Stone Age hunter-gatherers are buried. Ephedra, found in ritual burials, has powerful healing properties, including epinephrine and pseudoepinephrine, which help with nasal congestion and stimulate the nervous system. The preserved ephedra fruits found in the cave indicate its use to relieve pain and stop bleeding during trepanation, a skull surgery performed 15,000 years ago and considered one of the oldest in the world. The cave is also known for the ritual of tooth removal, a painful ceremony marking the transition to adulthood. Ephedra likely helped to relieve pain and bleeding, demonstrating its importance in the cultural traditions of the ancient inhabitants. These discoveries confirm that as early as 15,000 years ago, people had deep knowledge of the properties of plants and skillfully used them for healing, for ritual purposes even before the Neolithic era. Voynich manuscript. One of the most mysterious manuscripts in history, it is an illustrated codex written in an unknown language or cipher that has not yet been deciphered. According to the results of carbon dating of the parchment, its creation dates back to the period between 1404 and 1438. Despite research, its origin, authorship, and purpose remain unsolved. This gives rise to many theories and speculations. The manuscript is named after the Polish antiquarian Wilfrid Voynich, who acquired it in 1912. It consists of more than 240 pages with mysterious texts and illustrations, depicting bizarre plants, astronomical diagrams, strange people, and unknown chemical processes. The unique language of the manuscript has no analogs, and the script and structure of the text have led to many hypotheses. Some scholars suggest that it might be an encoded message created using complex cryptography, while others believe that the manuscript represents a description of a natural or artificial language. There is a theory that the manuscript might have been a hoax created to confuse scholars and seekers of ancient knowledge. Other theories suggest that it is a scientific or medical reference book, possibly dedicated to alchemy or botany. Some even believe that the Voynich manuscript is a work of speculative fiction or mythopoetry, which is still waiting for its decipherer, a temple for the lion-headed goddess. In Egypt, in the area of Athribis, an ancient temple carved into the rock was discovered. Its age is estimated to be about 2,100 years, and it dates back to the reign of Ptolemy VIII, who ruled from 170 to 116 BC. This ruler, known for his complicated political and family history, left behind many monuments, and the new temple has become an important discovery. Bas-reliefs have been preserved on the walls of the temple, depicting Ptolemy VIII making an offering to the goddess Repit with a lion's head and her son Calant. Repit was the wife of the god Minra, who was associated with fertility. Archaeologists believe that the temple was built for this particular goddess, although its name remains unknown. During the excavation, scientists discovered a hall where temple utensils and amphorae were stored. At the entrance to the room, unique bas-reliefs depicting Repit and Minra were found. Of particular interest is the depiction of Minra surrounded by deacons, stars that the ancient Egyptians used for navigation at night. These stars have human bodies combined with the heads of animals such as the falcon and the ibis. An extremely rare coin. Archaeologists from the Hebrew University have discovered the remains of a building from the Second Temple period, destroyed in 70 CE in the Ophel area of Jerusalem. Numerous Jewish coins from the time of the Great Revolt were found at the site, including a rare silver coin worth half a shekel, dated to around 69 to 70. The Great Revolt was a response to increased religious pressure and high taxes from Rome, which led to a mass uprising of the Jewish population. The rebels captured the Roman garrison, forcing the pro-Roman king Herod Agrippa II to leave the city. During the Great Revolt, the Jews minted coins featuring a cup and inscriptions in ancient Hebrew. The minting of silver coins was a political statement and a symbol of the desire for national liberation from Roman rule. Half-shekel coins were used to pay the annual temple tax. The faceless king. No matter what anyone says, being a king is not an easy job. Especially if you are the king of Jerusalem, your country is constantly besieged by Muslims, and your main enemy is the most powerful ruler of that time, Saladin. And if you add to that the terrible disease of leprosy, which doesn't allow you to live a normal life, these are the kinds of sufferings that few people could endure. But the hero of our video accepted all these challenges. Modern historians admire his willpower and devotion to his country. The king without a face, the leper king, all of this is King Baldwin IV. An interesting fact, scientists have finally discovered which disease was the very first in human history. The oldest disease, which is also mentioned in the Bible, was leprosy. Today it's called Hansen's disease, and it is completely curable. But in the past, things were very different. At one point in time, it was considered a curse for sins, and at another, a sign of divine grace. People suffered from leprosy even during the migration from Africa to Europe. Let's get back to the king. Baldwin had to face his main enemy, Sultan Saladin, in the very first year of his reign. The 13-year-old king successfully attacked Damascus, forcing Saladin to come out from Aleppo. 2 years later, the opponents clashed in battles for Damascus and Andukar. Saladin's army outnumbered the forces of the Kingdom of Jerusalem several times over. In addition, Baldwin could only hold the reins of his horse with one hand. But this did not prevent the king from crushing his opponent in 1177 at the Battle of Montgisard. A stunned Saladin told his close associates in frustration that as long as this boy was in Jerusalem, the city would not fall. At that time, Baldwin was only 16 years old. The opponent had to negotiate for peace. By the age of 24, Baldwin could no longer walk without support. Because he was unable to blink, his cornea dried out and he went blind. In addition, he survived a very dangerous fever, which worsened his illness. Realizing that death was approaching, Baldwin appointed his 6-year-old nephew as his heir. In reality, King Baldwin IV never wore a mask, as shown in various movies. Yes, his face was indeed disfigured by leprosy, but until the last day of his life, he continued to rule the state and fight off Saladin's army. Saladin took the city 2 years after Baldwin's death. The history of the Kingdom of Jerusalem ended, but the history of ancient Egypt did not end, which I will tell you about next. The Cup of an Ancient Ruler. In 2014, archaeologists in Athens made an amazing discovery. A wine cup, broken into 12 pieces which scientists believe belonged to Pericles, the legendary Athenian leader whose rule became the Golden Age for Athens. This historical artifact is now housed in the city's epigraphic museum. The most intriguing thing about this find is the inscription, which includes the names of 7 men, among them Pericles, and presumably his brother Ariphron. The inscriptions engraved on the cup became visible only upon close inspection of the artifact. The name Ariphron, standing next to the name Pericles, indicates a deep connection between these figures. It is believed that the cup was used during Pericles' youth at a symposium, where participants traditionally engraved their names as a memento of the gathering. The discovery provides a unique insight into the culture and customs of ancient Greek society, allowing us to look into the past and feel the connection between eras. Pearl City on an island. In the United Arab Emirates, archaeologists have made sensational discoveries. In the Persian Gulf, on Sinai Island, researchers found an ancient pearl city. In the pre-Islamic period, in the 6th century, thousands of people lived here. The main occupation of the inhabitants of this city was collecting pearl oyster shells. Archaeologists found millions of shells on the island. They still crunch underfoot. On the island, whose name means flashing lights, archaeologists previously discovered an ancient Christian monastery that is up to 1,400 years old. The city is located just south of the monastery and covers an area of 12 hectares. Archaeologists have discovered many houses here, built from stone and lime mortar, from small living quarters to more spacious houses with inner courtyards. In the houses, archaeologists found loose small pearls and diving weights, which divers used to descend to the seafloor while holding their breath. Pearl harvesting flourished until the early 20th century, but after World War I, people learned how to produce artificial pearls. Since then, you can see millions of pearl shells on the island, just lying underfoot. The cursed emeralds. These emeralds, which are called cursed, became one of the most tragic discoveries in the history of treasure hunting. They were discovered by J. Miskovich, a man who dedicated his life to searching for ancient treasures. In 2010, off the coast of Florida, he managed to find a cache of emeralds valued at several $million. At first glance, it seemed like a stroke of luck that could change his life for the better. However, the discovery soon attracted the attention not only of the media, but also of federal agencies, including the FBI. Legal proceedings and investigations began, aimed at determining the origin of the precious stones. Complex legal battles and public pressure turned Miskovich's life into a nightmare. Constant accusations and pressure from the authorities made his existence unbearable, and eventually he committed suicide. This tragedy became the basis for the legend of the cursed emeralds, which brought their owner not wealth and success, but pain and suffering. Today, this story serves as a grim reminder that behind great discoveries, there can sometimes be terrifying consequences. The oldest Christian church. Archaeologists have discovered the remains of an Armenian church that is almost 2,000 years old, making it one of the oldest in the world and the oldest in Armenia. The University of Münster in Germany, which collaborated with the Armenian Academy of Sciences during the excavation, called this discovery sensational evidence of early Christianity in Armenia. The church was found during excavations in Artashat, which was once a thriving metropolis and the capital of the ancient Armenian kingdom. Experts believe that the church was built in the 4th century AD at the same time as the Etchmiadzin Cathedral, the first Armenian church, which is considered the oldest in the world. The discovered building is the oldest archaeologically confirmed temple on the territory of Armenia. It is the first known octagonal church in Armenia. Similar structures are found on the eastern coast of the Mediterranean Sea and are also dated to the 4th century. The church resembled early Christian memorial buildings. Its diameter was about 30 meters. The floor was made of a mixture of sand and cement, and the walls were made of terracotta, probably brought from Greece or Italy. Scientists also discovered traces of wooden platforms, which made it possible to accurately date the structure using radiocarbon analysis. An inscription in Old Russian. This is a very interesting and controversial artifact. Scholars have been working on deciphering it for over 70 years, although it seems that all the letters are clear. The issue lies in the interpretations, and the age of the find itself also adds room for discussion. Usually, the spread of literacy in Russes is associated with the Christianization. The Cyrillic alphabet, which we use, is considered to be the invention of the missionary brothers Cyril and Methodius, although, to be completely honest, they actually invented the Glagolitic script. And the Cyrillic alphabet was developed by one of Kirill's students, the Bulgarian monk Clement Oridsky. It's important that the Cyrillic script arrived in Rusin with the monastic entourage. It was originally created so that Slavs could have access to Christian texts. The first books in Cyrillic were translations of the Holy Scriptures. However, near Smolensk in 1949, a nearly intact jug with a curious inscription was found at the famous Gnezdovo burial mound. The inscription was clearly made in Cyrillic. At the same time, The find dates back to around the middle of the 10th century. That is, the Cyrillic text was inscribed on the jug several decades before the Christianization of Rus. The text is very short, just one word. It looks like this. All the letters are written clearly, and the word uksha is very well visible. Historians and linguists are puzzled. Perhaps it refers to mustard. You know how housewives label jars in a modern kitchen so they don't forget what's stored where? Or maybe it means that the jug was used to store something flammable. For example, a mixture for Greek fire. Perhaps we are looking at the jug of some merchant who arrived from Moravia or the Balkans, where Cyrillic script had already become somewhat widespread. Then he could have used this new but already quite convenient alphabet for Slavs to mark his property. A mold for making golden images. In the central part of the island of Falster, located in the southeast of Denmark, an enthusiast with a metal detector made an incredible discovery that could rewrite not only the history of the region, but also shed light on a little-known page of Danish history. Leonard Larsen, walking in the rain in search of artifacts, heard a faint signal from his device. After digging up the ground, he discovered a small, unusual object, an ancient mold for making gold images, which were presumably used in cult rituals as offerings to the gods. According to archaeologists from the Lowland and Falster Museum, this find may be connected to an ancient center of power or religious activity. The matrix, measuring only 2 centimeters, dates back to the period between 500 and 700 AD before the beginning of the Viking Age. Such artifacts are incredibly rare. Only 28 similar matrices have been found in Scandinavia and none south of the Baltic Sea. The matrix from Falster depicts a person in elaborate clothing, standing with arms down and palms facing outward. This gesture is found in both pre-Christian and Christian cultures and symbolizes either submission or revelation. The specifics of the depiction remain a mystery. It is still unknown whether the matrix depicts a man or a woman. It could be a figure of a king expressing devotion to a deity, or on the contrary, a god appearing to a human. The oldest scientific instrument in England. A copper quadrant discovered in England dated to 1311 and about the size of a palm was used to determine the time. This artifact is 15 years older than the famous astrolabe of Chaucer from the British Museum. Researchers point to the rarity of medieval English instruments and their significance for scientific understanding of that era. The instrument is valued at $130,190. It is being offered at auction along with valuable books, manuscripts, and a 17th century silver microscope made by Antony van Leeuwenhoek. Quadrants are believed to have come to Europe from Muslim Spain at the end of the 13th century. With these instruments, the day was divided into 12 hours, whose length changed depending on the season and the latitude. The first hour began at sunrise, noon came at the end of the 6th hour, and sunset at the end of the 12th. This made the summer hours longer than the winter ones. Quadrants were tools used by merchants, clergymen, and students. It is known that Queen Isabella, the wife of Edward II, received several such devices as gifts in 1358. The quadrant determined the time of day by the height of the sun, using a trigonometric formula that was accurate at the equator. Despite its inaccuracies, the device was useful not only for determining the time, but also for solving mathematical problems related to measuring distances and heights. Stone Age pyramids in Eurasia. In Kazakhstan, near the village of Tokhtamis, archaeologists discovered a stone pyramid. The pyramid is hexagonal, and its construction dates back to the early Bronze Age. Around 2000 BC animals are depicted on the walls, especially horses. These drawings and horse bones nearby indicate a horse culture. In addition, pottery, gold earrings, and other ornaments were found. This suggests that the pyramid was a cultural center in ancient times. The most lifelike mummy in the world. This story began just over 100 years ago. It happened in Palermo, Italy in 1918. Rosalia Lombardo was born, and just 1 week short of her 2nd birthday, she died of pneumonia. Obviously, the girl simply didn't have time to become popular. Everything happened after her death. The girl's father was devastated by grief. Because of this, he decided to use the services of the best specialist of that time, Alfredo Salafia. The mummification specialist injected a special mixture into the girl's arteries, consisting of formalin, chlorine, alcohol, salicylic acid, glycerin, and zinc, which preserved her circulatory system from decomposition. After this mummification process, the girl was placed in a small glass coffin, and to this day her body is kept in a small church in Palermo. This girl is 100 years old, but she looks alive, and everyone who has seen the mummified girl can't believe that she is just sleeping. Mummification helps preserve the body for a long time, but due to the natural process of decomposition, the healthy and fresh appearance of the deceased will inevitably change over time. It's impossible to perform mummification in a way that completely preserves the skin tone and eye color as they were in life. As they say, what's possible is possible. Either a miracle happened in our case, or the mummification specialist truly had incredible talent. And that's not all. Scientists who constantly observed the girl's body record weak electrical impulses sent by her brain, lasting 33 and 12 seconds. Such impulses are characteristic of a living person, even though the girl's death has been confirmed more than once. Whatever it may be, the mystery of the most lifelike mummy in the world compels tourists from all over the globe to come to Sicily and personally observe the little girl with the yellow bow on her head, who looks as if she is alive. Did you know that for almost a month now, I've been running a channel on Telegram where I write every day about archaeologists' discoveries, museum exhibits, and other interesting historical facts. If you want to learn more about the ancient world, then join me on Telegram as well. The link is in the description below the video. The Baghdad Battery is a unique and truly mysterious archaeological artifact discovered in 1936 in the Kujut Rabu area near the ancient city of Ctesiphon in Iraq. It consists of 3 components: a ceramic vessel, a copper tube, and an iron rod. The find is dated to the period of the Parthian or Sassanid Empire, approximately 150 BC to 650 AD, and its purpose still remains a mystery. The most intriguing hypothesis was put forward by Wilhelm König, the director of the National Museum of Iraq in the 1930s. He suggested that these artifacts could have functioned as an ancient galvanic cell, a kind of prototype battery. According to this theory, acid or alkali, such as wine vinegar, could be poured into the vessel, which would cause an electric current to arise between the copper and the iron. Kyonics suggested that such a device could have been used for galvanic plating of metals, or even for electrotherapy. However, this theory remains controversial, as there is no direct evidence of the Baghdad Battery being used for such purposes. An alternative version suggests that the artifact could have simply been a container for storing sacred scrolls or other items, and was not related to electricity. To this day, archaeologists and historians cannot accurately explain the use of the Baghdad Battery. Perhaps in the future, this mystery will be solved. Toothed stones. In the south of California, amazing artifacts were found that resemble bronze gears, which had previously been discovered in Peru. These stone gears, known as the California cogged stones, range from 2 to 6 inches in diameter and up to 2 inches thick. Scientists believe that they were made sometime between 6,000 and 3,500 BC. Looking at these artifacts with modern eyes, they may seem primitive. But these stones have different features, such as cups, round indentations, and teeth along the edges, as well as patterns that resemble muffins. Amazingly, about 15 of them have a hole in the center, often narrow on one side. Scientists also discovered a curious anomaly. In the middle, there is a perfect square hole, which would be difficult to reproduce even with modern technology. This suggests that their ancient creators were familiar with advanced technologies. The purpose of these stone discs still remains a mystery. Some suggest that they were used for certain ritual purposes. But who created these stones and why remains an open question. Today, the prevailing opinion is that these gears were used as ceremonial objects, but their meaning and symbolism are still up for discussion. The invasion of witches and ghouls. In the 1950s, rumors spread in the Philippines about an invasion of aswangs, evil creatures from Filipino folklore, similar to ghouls and witches. These mythical creatures were said to attack people, which caused a wave of fear among the population. However, behind these rumors was not folklore, but a well-planned CIA operation. To suppress the Filipino insurgents, American agents decided to take advantage of the local people's superstitions. The CIA kidnapped local residents or insurgents, killed them in horrifying ways, and left the bodies in plain sight to cause panic. Then they spread rumors that these were attacks by aswangs. This tactic played on people's fears and beliefs, which led to a weakening of support for the insurgents among the local population. It was psychological warfare, the goal of which was to break people's morale without resorting to open battles. This case shows how myths and folklore can be used for political and military purposes, turning into a powerful tool of manipulation. An axe over 200,000 years old, archaeologists from Saudi Arabia unearthed a basalt axe, which is now being studied to understand its purpose. A tool over 200,000 years old was found in the Al-Ula region. The discovery was made near an ancient settlement rich in archaeological treasures. The city of Kirk, also known as Al-Mabiyat, has a rich history and landmarks from different eras. The tool discovered by the Theos Heritage Team is over half a meter long and shows signs of being used for chopping. A thorough analysis is ongoing to determine its role in the lives of ancient people. The Pilate Stone is a very important ancient artifact that confirms the existence of Pontius Pilate, the Roman prefect of Judea. He is known for his role in condemning Jesus Christ to crucifixion. This fragment of a limestone block was found in 1961 in the ancient Roman theater of Caesarea in Israel and dates back to the 1st century AD. The inscription on the stone is partially preserved, but it contains key information. It mentions Pontius Pilate and his title as prefect of Judea. This discovery became important because before it was found, there was no archaeological evidence directly linked to this historical figure. The Pilate Stone is considered the only contemporary inscription found that relates to the period of Pilate's rule. Its importance lies in the fact that it confirms not only the existence of Pilate, but also the Roman presence in Judea during that period. Rock-cut tomb. On Malta, builders accidentally came across an ancient tomb about 2,300 years old. In September, while installing new water pipes near a hospital in the city of Birkirkara, workers discovered a chamber carved into the rock. Later, archaeologists confirmed that this was a Punic tomb. During subsequent excavations, the central shaft of the tomb and 3 burial chambers were discovered. The entrances to them were sealed with original stone slabs. Through narrow gaps, archaeologists saw skeletons and artifacts. Inside the chambers, there were bones arranged in a specific order, as well as urns with ashes. The bones were probably moved to make room for new burials. A total of at least 14 burials were found in the 3 chambers. The remains have already been moved to the laboratory for further analysis. Archaeologists plan to conduct radiocarbon dating and DNA analysis to learn more about the Punic community that created this tomb. The Punic civilization, also known as the Carthaginian Republic, was one of the most influential powers in the Mediterranean until it was conquered by the Romans around 150 BC. New mysteries of the Saint-Belec slab. Scientists have been actively studying the ancient Saint-Belec stone slab, which is 4,000 years old since it was discovered in 2014 in a French burial mound. In 2021, it was recognized as the oldest map in Europe. Researchers believe that the slab may contain clues to treasures based on the drawings and symbols carved into it. This unique artifact made of slate was first discovered in Finistère, in western France, in 1900. But the mystery of the slab remained unsolved, and it lay in the castle for more than a century until scientists began studying it again. The slab, measuring 2 by 1.5 meters, is believed by experts to be a map of the Brittany region. Rivers, mountains, and other natural features are engraved on it. Interestingly, the indentations on the slab may indicate ancient settlements or burial mounds. When the engravings were compared with modern maps of Brittany, an impressive 80% match was found. The study of this ancient map continues. It covers an area of 30 by 21 kilometers, and it may take scientists up to 15 years to fully study it. Excavations near the location of the slab have already yielded new fragments that were used in the construction of ancient tombs. Greetings from the Neolithic. This magnificent artifact, a dagger with a bear's head, was found in the Pyhäjoki area, Finland, and dates back to the Stone Age, around 4,200 years BC. Its exquisite design made from striped stone testifies to the high level of skill of ancient craftsmen. The bear's head on the handle of the dagger is not only a decoration but possibly symbolized strength, endurance, and spiritual guidance. In a cultural context, it could have been used in rituals related to hunting or the veneration of animals that were considered sacred guardian spirits. The bear in the mythology of ancient Finnish tribes was a particularly revered creature associated with the world of ancestors and nature spirits. There are no obvious signs of use on the blade, which may indicate its ceremonial significance. Such an artifact may have belonged to an important person in the community, for example, a chief or a shaman who used it for special rituals. The Sea of Galilee boat, also known as the Jesus boat, is an ancient fishing vessel dating back to the 1st century AD. This unique artifact was discovered in 1986 on the northwestern shore of the Sea of Galilee in Israel, when the water level dropped significantly due to drought. The boat is 8.2 meters long, 2.3 meters wide, and has a preserved height of 1.3 meters, making it a typical vessel used for fishing and possibly for transporting people and goods across the Sea of Galilee in ancient times. Despite its nickname, the Jesus boat, there is no direct evidence that this boat was connected to Jesus Christ or his disciples. Nevertheless, the discovery has significant historical and cultural importance, as it dates back to the period when, according to the Gospels, Jesus and his disciples preached around the Sea of Galilee. The boat could have belonged to local fishermen, and similar vessels were used for everyday life in those times. The vessel was built from different types of wood, which indicates that it was repeatedly repaired in an effort to keep it seaworthy. This is one of the rarest archaeological finds, allowing us to glimpse into the life and everyday activities of ancient people who lived on the shores of the Sea of Galilee in that era. Bronze sword with rock crystal. This stunning bronze sword, inlaid with turquoise and finished with gold, belongs to the Warring States period in China, spanning the 4th to 2nd centuries BC. This was a period when numerous kingdoms fought for dominance and influence, and the art of war reached a high level of perfection. This sword stood out not only for its combat purpose, but also for its incredible craftsmanship. The hilt of the sword is made of rock crystal, which gives it a special elegance and makes it not only a weapon, but also a work of art. The turquoise inlay adds unique color accents, and the use of gold emphasizes the status of the owner, who was probably a member of the nobility or a high-ranking warrior. Such swords not only served as symbols of power and influence, but also demonstrated the skill of ancient Chinese blacksmiths and jewelers. The oldest fortresses on the planet. Traditionally, we thought that complex defensive structures appeared only with the development of agriculture, but now everything is different. In Siberia, 10 fortifications built by hunter-gatherers have been found, which are up to 8,000 years old. These settlements, located on riverbanks, were protected by earthen ramparts and wooden palisades. The ancient inhabitants of this area not only hunted and fished, but also created ceramic vessels for storing food. Their ability to build substantial fortifications testifies to the incredible complexity of their lives. Many believe that permanent settlements with fortifications appeared in agricultural societies, but this discovery disproves that theory. It turns out that even hunter-gatherers could create complex societies. The abundance of resources in the Siberian taiga likely played a key role in the emergence of these settlements. These fortifications were possibly used to control and efficiently utilize local resources. The Piri Reis map. The map, created in 1513 by the Ottoman admiral and cartographer Piri Reis, is one of the most famous cartographic artifacts of the age of great geographical discoveries. Although only a fragment of this map has survived to the present day, it is kept in the Topkapi Palace in Istanbul and was discovered in 1929. The map is of particular interest because it contains a partial copy of the now-lost map of Christopher Columbus, which makes it an important historical document. The Piri Reis map depicts parts of the Atlantic Ocean, including the coasts of Europe, Africa, and South America. It features a surprisingly accurate depiction of South America for the early 16th century, as well as details of the Caribbean and the islands of Hispaniola and Cuba. One of the interesting features of the map is that Cuba is depicted as part of the Asian continent, which is probably due to early misconceptions about the geography of the New World. Another mysterious detail is the southern part of the map, which is interpreted as an early version of Terra Australis, the hypothetical southern continent that was believed to exist at the time. This adds extra intrigue and debate about the possible sources of information used by Peary Rates when creating the map. He may have relied on older maps or used the stories of sailors from his time, which makes this artifact even more significant and mysterious for researchers. Clay Theater Ticket. In the ancient city of Prusias ad Hippium, located in the northwest of Turkey, archaeologists discovered a clay ticket from the Roman era, a statuette of Aphrodite, and the top of the sacred staff of Thyrsis. This city, previously known as Hippios and Kyros, was renamed in honor of King Prusias Thirkers of Bithynia, who captured it in the 3rd century BC later. Under Roman rule, Prusiata flourished and became an important cultural center. Among the preserved structures of the city, the ancient amphitheater stands out in particular, which the locals call the 40 Steps. This semicircular structure, 100 meters long and 74 meters wide, is decorated with carved steps featuring a lion's claw ornament. Despite the earthquakes, the theater has remained almost untouched. About 80 structures have already been uncovered, and the artifacts found are in excellent condition. The crown. The oldest crown discovered to date was found as part of a hoard on Shmara Hill in 1961. You will be surprised, in the Indian desert not far from the Dead Sea, this amazing hoard included more than 400 items dating back to the Copper Age. The crown is made of blackened copper and has a diameter of about 18 centimeters, with its upper edge decorated with 5 figurines. Among them are 2 long-necked birds, presumably vultures, stylized doors or gates, and also an object in the shape of the letter T, which may symbolize the hilt of a sword. Along with the crown, the hoard included a scepter with images of horned animals, a copper plate, a woven basket, and numerous ceramic vessels and bowls. Despite the majestic appearance of the crown, scientists do not believe it was worn by a ruler. Most likely it was used in ritual ceremonies or funeral rites. How these treasures stayed in the cave for thousands of years remains a mystery. This crown may be considered the first crown in a form familiar to us. The tomb of Philip II of Macedon was discovered in Vergina in northern Greece at the end of the 1970s. The tomb of Philip II of Macedon became one of the most significant archaeological discoveries in the history of ancient Macedonia. These tombs, located near the necropolis of the ancient capital of Macedonia, Agi, are considered to be the final resting place of Philip II, the king of Macedonia, and the father of the great conqueror, Alexander the Great. The tomb is distinguished by its magnificence and the wealth of buried artifacts. Archaeologists found weapons, armor, gold, and silver items in it, including unique precious ossuaries, vessels for storing cremated remains. One of the ossuaries, decorated with a golden wreath of oak leaves and acorns, contained bones believed to belong to Philip II himself. This discovery not only confirmed ancient descriptions of the grandeur of Macedonian kings, but also became a source of new knowledge about the cultural and burial rituals of the elite of that time. The armor and weapons found next to the remains indicate the important role of military affairs in the life of Philip II, which not only strengthened Macedonia, but also paved the way for the future conquests of his son, Alexander the Great. Amber Cup. This magnificent amber cup, which is about 3,270 years old, was found in a large round barrow in Hove, England, during excavations in 1856. Amber is a material known for its beauty and is associated with the sun and vital energy. In ancient times, it was used not only for jewelry, but also for ritual purposes. According to researchers, the cup that was found could have been an item of high status belonging to an important member of society or a chief. Creating such a cup required exceptional skills, since amber is a fragile material and working with it demands patience and craftsmanship. The discovered cup indicates that people of that time had access to rare and valuable materials, which also confirms the existence of trade connections and exchanges with other regions. The fact that the cup was buried together with its owners speaks to its significance for burial rituals or belief in the afterlife. Stone chain. In front of you is a unique architectural detail of the Goreshvara temple, located in the city of Jalandhar, India. The temple was built in the 16th century and is known for its intricate carved elements, among which this chain, carved from a single piece of stone, stands out in particular. Carving a chain from a single monolith shows the remarkable skill of ancient Indian stonemasons, and still inspires admiration today. In Indian architecture, every element of a temple has its own meaning and serves a spiritual role. Such elements could symbolize the connection between the earthly and the divine, or be an expression of strength and eternity. The Goreshvari temple was built during the flourishing period of the Vijayanagar dynasty's architecture, known for its grand structures and attention to detail. A unique wagon in Russia. Imagine a vehicle handmade from wood. Instead of wheels, there are massive wooden discs, and instead of a body, a lattice made of interwoven twigs. Interestingly, archaeologists found such a carriage in the Rostov region. It was buried in the grave of a 50-year-old man who lived in the 23rd century BC. You might ask, how could such an ancient carriage have survived? Well, we were lucky here. The coolest part of the carriage, the frame, that is the chassis, was preserved quite well. And you know what's interesting? The craftsmen of those times very carefully selected the wood for each part. For example, the frame was made from maple and the wheels from oak. Super in-depth research even showed that all the trees were local. This means the carriage was made right here. Our ancestors cut down trees in the nearby forest and used them to create their means of transportation. The coolest thing about this story is that the ancient inhabitants of this area knew how to work with wood, weave with twigs, and they did all this using simple bronze tools. So, my friends, the ancient nomads weren't quite the savages we might have imagined. They skillfully used all available resources and created truly unique things, the strangest exhibits in the museum. A museum is basically the place where all the archaeologists' finds end up, where anyone can take a closer look at them. I'll tell you more about such exhibits next. In the photo, you see the upper part of the body of an ancient Celt who was sacrificed almost 2,000 years ago. At the time of his death, the young man was about 20 years old. He was killed quite brutally, although at that time such a death was considered a sign of special favor. Before the sacrifice, his nipples were cut off. He was dismembered and then burned. What's interesting is that the young man had very well-groomed nails, which means he was someone from the ruling elite. The stern Gauls would sacrifice their chief in this way when his term as chief was coming to an end, and 20 years was considered the twilight of a chief's career. This lamb on the wheel is at least 150 years old. It's creepy not only because of its appearance, but also because of the legends that have surrounded it during its time in the museum. The staff of the Canadian Museum believe the lamb is cursed and claim that they hear sounds at night, like the creaking of its chariot. And the guards go crazy with fear, turning on loud music so they don't hear the lamb moving around the museum. Of course, most likely it's just a local scary story, but the toy still looks creepy. And this is a real sheep's heart, not a toy anymore. It's completely stuck with pins, nails, and needles. And this heart played a very important role. It protected its owner from enemies. Honestly, I don't really understand how such a creepy, disgusting piece of meat with pins can protect someone from enemies. Maybe it's because I'm not good at magic. This bone is considered ritual in Tibetan Buddhism. It's not as simple as it might seem to you. This bone with a knob is capable of producing an amazing sound called quiruru. This bone, just like the previous amulet, is also able to ward off evil spirits. The material used to make it is a human tibia bone. Buddhists believe that the bones of girls are better suited for this purpose. Who are we to argue with Tibetan Buddhists? To complete the set, you also need drums made from 2 skulls, Han Dynasty burial suits. In ancient times in China, high-ranking people were buried in unique suits made of jade plates, held together with gold wire. The cold, smooth plates created an incredibly beautiful mosaic, which symbolized the wealth of the Han Dynasty. Such burials have not been found anywhere else except in China. In Chinese, they are called pinyin, which means jade suit. For centuries, people thought that jade burial suits were nothing more than a legend. People could not even imagine that rulers in those times could be so wealthy as to completely cover their bodies with incredibly expensive jade. But the discovery in 1986 confirmed that these were not just legends, but things described in ancient texts. This discovery became a sensation not only for China, but for the whole world. At last, archaeologists managed to confirm that the rulers of the Han Dynasty were buried in jade suits. The Han Dynasty was extremely powerful and ruled from 206 BC to 220 AD. It is one of the most iconic Chinese dynasties. And today the Han people remain the main ethnic group of China. The tombs of the Han Dynasty rulers changed the understanding of Chinese burial practices. In 1983 in Dingxian, Hebei province, researchers discovered one of the most expensive jade suits in history, which belonged to the ruler Huai. The suit is made of 1,203 pieces of jade, connected by gold threads, with a total weight of 2,580 grams. The most complex suit consisted of 2,498 pieces of jade. Hand of glory. Ancient magic and shamans amaze and astonish with their ingenuity. Their knowledge of human psychology is especially inspiring. After all, not only did they manage to create some magical objects, but they also made people believe in their miraculous power. One such example is the Hand of Glory. The first mentions of this terrifying thing date back to the 1600s, but those are only the officially recorded ones. To create this magical object, you needed the hand of a hanged murderer. The most interesting thing is that I even have a recipe for making this creepy thing. You can write it down, just in case you ever need it. The hand must be cut off from the body of the hanged criminal, then pickled in salt and the urine of a man, a woman, a dog, a horse, and a mare. Then it needs to be smoked with herbs and hay for a month, hung on an oak tree for 3 nights in a row, and then hung on a church door for 1 night. And if during this time no fear drives you away, the hand will be yours. According to another recipe, the hand had to be, so to speak, pickled in various ingredients. 2 of them are ponia and zaimat. Fortunately, we still don't know the translations of these words. So what is the purpose of this hand? Well, that's simple. By performing a certain ritual using this hand, you can open absolutely any door on the planet. It's a kind of magical lockpick. Interestingly, there are even historical accounts describing supposedly real cases of such artifacts being used. In the 1873 book Curious Myths of the Middle Ages, there's a story about the maid servant. During severe bad weather, a beggar appeared on the doorstep of an inn in the English county of Northumberland. No rooms were available, but he was allowed to sleep by the fireplace near the maidservant. The woman woke up at night and saw how the guest took a dry human hand out of the folds of his cloak, made from rope, lit candles fixed between the fingers, and quietly muttered some kind of incantation. After that, he calmly wandered around the hall, putting more or less valuable things into a sack, dishes, candelabras, and so on. The maid rushed to wake the master and the other servants, but they were fast asleep. Then she grabbed a jug of milk and poured it over the hand. The candles went out, and the sleep paralysis left the inhabitants of the house. Now, such hands are part of the exhibits in several museums, each with its own sinister story. The next find already had real value in the Middle Ages. Woman in a canoe. According to a new study, 800 years ago, mourners buried a young woman in a ceremonial canoe to send her on her final journey to the land of the dead in what is now Patagonia. This discovery disproves the theory that canoe burials could only have been used after Spanish colonization, and confirms ethnographic and historical evidence that they were practiced throughout pre-Spanish South America. The remains were found at an excavation site called Nujin Nuyanantuk near Lake Alacar in western Argentina. The wooden canoes of that time, known as vampo, were hollowed out using fire. According to the analysis, the woman was between 17 and 25 years old at the time of her death, but the cause of death could not be determined. They also found a jug placed next to her head and nearly 600 charred pieces of wood from a single Chilean cedar. The discovery is truly unusual because most canoe burials were intended for men. Previous studies have shown that burying people in a canoe was part of a ritual that allowed the dead to make their final journey across mystical waters to another land known as Nomalavkin, where they would live together, known as the destination of souls. Sounds of a Roman battlefield. In the ancient Roman fort of Vindolanda, a mouthpiece of an ancient Roman horn was discovered. The metal horn was a musical instrument that was used to convey orders to the troops during battle. No fewer than 9 Roman forts were built from wood or stone at Vindolanda between about 85 and 370 AD, creating one of the most complex archaeological sites in Britain and a unique cultural heritage of frontier life. Today, Vindolanda is an active archaeological site where excavations have previously uncovered thousands of well-preserved shoes, textiles, wooden objects, and the Vindolanda tablets. These are Britain's oldest surviving documents, dating to the 1st and 2nd centuries AD. Researchers were excavating the floor of Hadrian's workshop, buried under the remains of the Scola, the officers' club, when they discovered a rare mouthpiece made of copper alloy, dating to AD 120 to 128. Barbara Burley, curator of the Vindolanda Trust, said, "When you find a part of a musical instrument, it helps us get a more accurate idea not only of what the army looked like, but also of what it sounded like." And now we will go to China and see what burial suits looked like. A double burial from the Viking Age. Archaeologists made a unique discovery in 1981 near the village of Gedrup, not far from the city of Roskilde in Denmark. The researchers found not just an unusual, but a very strange burial by those standards. In the grave were a woman and a man, but they were buried in completely different ways. The reconstructed burial is now considered the main attraction of the local museum in Roskilde. In the photo, you can see huge stones lying on the woman's chest, left arm, and legs. And next to her is a heavy spearhead, 40 centimeters long. It's not always possible to determine sex from bones with 100% certainty, but in our case, archaeologists are sure the pelvis of the skeleton is small. However, experts are sure that the woman had given birth more than once. The skeleton also shows that the woman was not young. The spear is too large to be actually used in battle, so it was more symbolic. But the story with the stones is more interesting. There is an opinion that the huge stones were placed on the woman out of fear of her. People thought that this way it would protect them from the woman being able to rise after death. There were also questions about the man. It is clear that his neck was broken and his legs were tied. That means he was hanged. That suggests he was a criminal. But who would need to put a criminal and a half-warrior woman in the same grave? There was a suggestion that he was the woman's servant until they did a DNA test on the buried remains. It turned out to be even more confusing. The woman and the man were relatives, mother and son. So we found the real reason for the fear of this woman. She was stoned so that she couldn't rise from the grave and take revenge for her son's death. And the heavy spearhead was most likely the witch's staff. You might think this is complete nonsense, but there is an explanation for this, and a coincidence in an ancient saga written in the 13th century. The saga tells the story of the sorceress Katla and her son Odd. Odd was a criminal, but no one could injure or kill him, neither with a knife nor an axe, because he was protected by his mother's sorcery. She hid her son at home and turned him into a dog or a pig, but another sorceress appeared who was able to expose them. In the end, the son was hanged right in front of his mother, and the mother was stoned to death, but she managed to curse her killers. It's a very interesting coincidence. Could archaeologists really have found real evidence of an ancient saga? If myths and sagas can be real stories, then what about the golden boy from Egypt? Silk Imperial Decree. In the Sazi district of Handan City in the north of Hebei province, archaeologists discovered a unique 5-colored silk imperial decree. Apparently, it dates back to the Qing dynasty. That means it is more than 140 years old, and its size is more than impressive, 2.22 meters long and 30 centimeters wide. But what's interesting is that this decree is written in 2 languages, Chinese and Manchu. Such a linguistic palette reflects the ethno-cultural diversity that prevailed during the Qing dynasty. The decree was first given to a noble official's family during Emperor Guangxu's reign. Such a document played a huge role in transmitting imperial directives and maintaining order within the empire. The study of such a document gives scholars incredible opportunities to explore various aspects of life during the Qing dynasty, its social culture, and etiquette. The Qing dynasty ruled over vast territories, from the Manchu homeland in the northeast to the Tibetan plateau in the southwest. And this entire powerful empire was organized on the basis of a complex administrative system where Manchu and Chinese traditions were blended. The influence of the Qing dynasty continues to be felt in modern Chinese culture and history. The limb of Daniel Sickles and its adventures. One of the most famous exhibits at the National Museum of Health and Medicine in Washington is the fragments of the leg of General Daniel Sickles, a participant in the American Civil War. This exhibit attracts the attention not only of visitors, but also of Sickles himself, who repeatedly came to the museum to see his lost limb and impress his friends, including Mark Twain. Daniel Sickles is a controversial and scandalous figure, born in New York, who built a successful career in law and politics. His life was full of sensational events, including his marriage to Teresa Baggioli, who was half his age. Sickles did not hide his affairs, once even bringing a prostitute to a session of the state assembly. A dramatic turn came when his wife had an affair with District Attorney Philip Barton Key. Upon learning about the affair, Sickles shot Key right across from the White House. The trial became a sensation, and Sickles defended himself by claiming temporary insanity. This was the first time such a defense was used, and it was successful. In 1863, as a major general, Sickles took part in the Battle of Gettysburg, where he advanced his corps forward in violation of orders. This decision led to heavy losses, and he himself lost a leg due to a cannonball strike. The amputated limb was sent to a museum in a special box and became one of the main exhibits. Sickles not only continued his career, but also returned to politics. He lived a long life and passed away at the age of 94 in 1914. His leg is still on display in the museum, reminding us of his vivid and eventful life. Thank you very much to everyone who watched this video to the end, and especially to those who shared it with their friends. Write in the comments which of these discoveries impressed you the most. Thank you for your views. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you very much to everyone who watched this video to the end, and especially to those who shared it with their friends. Write in the comments which of these discoveries impressed you the most. Thank you for your views. Goodbye, everyone.